Hello and welcome to this video playing Michka78. So we're going to start with d4, and we have knight f6, knight c3, and we're going to get Gruenfeld, and bishop g7. Okay, and this is about where my knowledge of the Gruenfeld ends. Okay, c5, so cd, cd, bishop takes, so knight f3, knight f3, bishop, knight f3, bishop g4, bishop b2 is possible. Yeah, I mean, sucks not to know any theory, but bishop b2 takes, bishop takes, I guess that's okay. I think I'm going to play bishop b2 first, actually. Queen b6 might be the answer to that. Okay, so knight ge2. Let's try that, and then we don't have to worry about the pin here. So I guess we're probably already out of theory. I'm sure I went wrong first, but I guess white's position is okay. We have the center, which obviously if we can keep the center is nice. Okay, so knight c6. So knight c6, cd, cd, bishop takes, knight takes is okay. So that's nothing crucial yet. Knight a5, we can move the bishop. I think we just get castled now. Queen b6 is also possible, but I think rook b1. Okay, so cd, and let's just double check. cd, knight takes, yeah, so cd. Okay, so now bishop g4. Now obviously if we don't do something about this, we'll play rook e1, bishop takes, rook takes, for example, then we're losing the d4 pawn. So I think we pretty much have to play f3. So f3 and knight f5. Very quickly play knight f5. Okay, so one option immediately obviously is to play something like bishop takes f7 check, and then after rook takes f7 to take the bishop on g4. What else can we do? We can play bishop b3, we can play bishop d5, bishop d5, e6. That doesn't look right. If just bishop back, I mean bishop back, and then where does this bishop go? I mean bishop b. Look, if bishop b3, knight takes, queen takes. But honestly, I'm just thinking knight. Bishop here check, bishop takes, rook takes, and then g. I mean, I don't know. I don't really see why not that. So let's do that. Okay, so quickly played rook takes f1 check. I mean, I want to play queen takes. Where's that queen going? So queen takes f1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a pawn up here. Okay, knight in. Now, if bishop c3, knight e3. I don't know that does anything that concrete. Knight e3, queen f3 looks okay. And otherwise, we might be able to move the knight with a tempo on the... Okay, so now the bishop is hit indirectly. So... what about d5? If the knight moves... okay, so d5, and then the idea is to move the knight with tempo. Okay, but this isn't actually hit because I've got my knight trained on this. So maybe this is okay. Maybe this is okay. What about just something simple like queen f4? Queen f4, covering some squares. Queen f4. Okay. So time, as always, the big factor here. So I would say something like rook f1 Rook f1 will be troubling for black, so let's get that in. And then f7 is on the cards now, so I'm going to be very careful now. If you trade off everything, I'm okay with my position. Okay. What about this d5 now? d5, taking twice. Okay. Let's try and play this actually. Get the bishop off the c file, and then try and make progress. Ah, okay, but rook f8, rook f8. Rook f8, where am I going with my queen? That's annoying. Rook f8. Obviously I can't take on f8, so I have to move that. Where am I getting? Queen to g5. Okay. Maybe queen g5 now? No. Hitting b5. Keeping an eye on these squares that the knight is looking at. Okay, can I now push this now? I think I can. Now the bishop is open here, so that's one idea. And the other idea is if just takes, then queen takes check. So, okay, so can we take, can we take this first or what? Running out of time. Alright, knight e3. Okay, so rook here, knight here. I'm going to play rook d3. Oh, I'm losing my g4 pawn. Okay, fine. Yeah, okay, so after g4, knight takes g4, I'm going to play knight f4. Time is my real problem here. Don't know what black's thinking about here, actually. I mean, okay, he didn't go for that. So we'll play this ourselves and try and get in knight e6. Something like g5 looks nice here. Let's try and get g5 in and clamp the pawns. And then maybe knight e6. And then rook f1 check. Okay. Oh, that doesn't work. Yeah, okay, so... So, we can actually push... Yeah, let's play this. Now we can go for this line now, knight e6 now. That was the one I wanted to play. Okay, knight e6 and then rook f3 to check. Ah, knight e5. Okay, let's get the check in. Okay. Oof. Bah. Yeah, I mean, knight takes knight is possible now. I'm going to take on b5. Yeah, it's just time is the problem here. Alrighty. Ugh. Ugh. Ah, what am I doing? Ah! Okay, so trying to just take on g5. Obviously the position is drawn. Frustrating to lose on time. Okay, I'll pause and then be back shortly. Okay, so I've picked this moment as probably the critical moment of the game. I think White's has a clear opening advantage. I don't think this has quite worked for Black because he doesn't really have the pressure against the white centre that he needs to have, in my opinion, to justify this kind of hyper modern opening. That said, I'm not sure what the best way to proceed is here. I went for bishop takes f7 on sort of general principles of The bishop is attacked, my bishop is attacked. If I can move my bishop and win a pawn with check, then I can recapture the bishop. I think the downside of this line is that, then I do have the two hanging pawns in the center. Whereas if I just move my bishop away, it's pretty hard to stop white getting, d5 in, and then we really do have a really nice pawn center. So I'm not sure what the best line is here. I think this is probably the critical moment, because after this the game got pretty tactical, and again, having spent probably more time than my opponent and getting into time trouble, I think that gave him chances. That said, I mean, I did have an advantage right until the end, and just failed to play quickly enough to trade off the necessary pieces, or find a win. I'm not sure if there was a win. I think in the end game he could have won back the extra pawn, and it was pretty much drawn. But I think earlier on I did have a clear advantage, and maybe let's say around somewhere around here. I mean, I think if anyone's better, it's white. I think black's king is less safe than white's, so maybe around here I could have found something a little better. Again, possibly not sure about this. Again, this idea of liquidating here, and maybe white should just continue to try and increase the pressure. Maybe possibly at the pawn. I mean, something like knight f4 here would be interesting. Although maybe something like king h1 and then knight f4, give up the d pawn for the e6 pawn, something like that. Okay, well, interesting game anyway. Thanks for watching.